So Lisa will be back in the collection of ideas from you tonight. We're actually trying to do a lot in a little bit of time, so someone stop me if at 7:55 we haven't talked about when the next meeting should be. Okay, we're trying to do it in the daytime, but we'll come back to that. So this is another activity. We just did a mindfulness activity. The activity we're going to do the rest of the evening is a creative problem-solving activity. So it's really good to have mindfulness because that makes you aware maybe of some worries in your life. But even when you're aware of it and calmly considering it, you still have the problem. So mindfulness by itself is not enough. Having some cognitive flexibility, having a creative way to address a problem can be very helpful. So that's what we're going to walk through tonight. There are ties to the academic world. There's been buzzwords over the years like mindset or 21st century learning. The current construct is called social emotional learning. But they're all trying to build tools in people to better balance the weight of life's worries. And specific to creative problem solving, there are aspects that are labeled in social emotional learning as problem solving, communication, self-awareness, and what's the last one? I can't read it. Thank you. The thing that we don't do very naturally as people is defer judgment. It's very hard to allow time to be creative. We immediately go to a solution, and we do it with our kids, we do it with ourselves. It's a discipline that needs to be learned and practiced. So the idea of divergent thinking is to allow time to be silly, to allow crazy and wild ideas, to allow some other way of looking at things. And then later you come back and you do converge. But the point is delaying just a little while before you make that judgment. So there's a worksheet. Creative problem solving's been around a long time. There's textbooks on it from 50 years ago. But it's always been in this very lengthy multi-step process. The thing about what we're doing tonight, PIP, problems, ideas, plans, is that they're done in a very brief fashion. So it was originally designed to be able to teach and practice during the time of one class. So in 45 minutes, you could learn PIP and practice with it. The final step, plans, is what we're going to do in the next meeting. We're going to do ideation in this meeting and then plan around some of the solutions in the next meeting. So here's what we covered in the first workshop. We talked about how people literally have a different brain structure over time and elements of the brain that are not used very much are literally pruned away. And so it's very helpful to not have a stressful infancy. It's more helpful to have a playful infancy and that continues through life. And ideally, when you get into adolescence, you're pruning away things that aren't part of your creativity and your ability to deal with the problems that the world throws at you. And this is not a new question. So there's a definition that you can read for yourself of how this applies to us. But what we talked about in the first workshop that was delivered by Nadja Riley is doing something complementary to, but totally separate from what might be occurring in the school district. There's a lot of things the Wellesley Public Schools are trying to do in this area, and however well or poorly they do them, we will improve the outcome. And we have some control of that in our lives outside of school. We don't have much control of that within school. So the point of this chart is that social emotional learning occurs in every realm. The realm under our control is community and home. So this is thinking big. This is not something I wrote. It says copyright in the bottom. And I'm honestly not sure if Nadja wrote it or if she got it from somewhere else. But please take a moment and read that. So the essential elements are to offer regular and integrated opportunities for service, real conversations, and cooperation, and to hold in highest importance an atmosphere of emotional safety, to value and maintain unsevered membership, to create and communicate strong boundaries, and maintain at the core a strong sense of connectivity, of belonging. So the first workshop ended on this slide. It was a call to action. And it was asking for a thoughtful look at some of the barriers, and in this meeting to come in with some ideas about how we can address those barriers. So the rest of this meeting is to collect your ideas. We're doing the ideation phase right now. We're collecting ideas. So if you remember the first slide, it was to defer judgment. So we're actually looking for you to be goofy here. Throw up ideas. We're going to record those ideas, and then we will select the idea or set of ideas at the end of the night that we'd like to focus on bringing into reality. But the goal here is not great ideas. The goal here is a high quantity of ideas. Going once, going twice. All right, so the ideas we're going to be chasing tonight are how to remove barriers to communication and barriers to support here in Wellesley. And I'm going to ask for Lisa's help on this again.
When you say, go ahead, are we thinking about in terms of, you mean like students or just people in general, or?
People in general, for sure, yeah. We don't have any control of our students other than their own kids or their friends.
So it can kind of apply to everybody, but I mean, I think with Interact anyway? Like
Absolutely. Interact, sports clubs, choirs.
Or even in work.
So if you think of the bigger umbrella as our community,
right,
and then who falls under that umbrella? Community, and certainly students fall under that.
Yeah.
So if you see on the table, you all have some Post-its and some Sharpies, and literally this is for PIP, for the problem solving. You can write an idea down and raise your hand, and you can say your idea out loud, and I will collect your paper and we'll put it up on the board, and it will be something we'll be able to then revisit and start looking at and narrowing down on things that we think are actually goals that we can, that we can attain. So they can be grandiose if you want, and you may find that they're not as grandiose as you thought they were. So really anything goes. And if you want to, write it down, raise your hand, say what it is, and then I'll come and grab it. And that way, the reason we're saying it out loud is that maybe you're going to hear something that's going to make you think of the next, something to build on from that. So that's where the saying it out loud might come from, why it's helpful. Is it might make you then think of trigger another thought to build on or to narrow or something like that. So, And actually, since I'm not going to be able to write it on a piece of paper, I will write it at some point, but I can start it off. And a thought I've had a lot about this, and Bob and I have talked about, is trying to figure out how to unplug. You know, and I do think of the kids a lot when I think of this, but I think of myself and the constant having the screen in front of us and needing to check on it and needing to figure out how we measure up by everybody else that we're looking at on our screens. So I say unplug.
Unplug.
Anybody who's writing, and let me know.
Build trust.
Build trust.
Don't be afraid to allow yourself to be vulnerable.
Be vulnerable. Please write that down.
I have one, and this is a little odd for me, who has transitioned into teaching in higher ed. And then maybe they do this in the school already, but basically what I wrote was celebrate career paths that do not require four-year college degrees. I don't know how to do it, but let people understand what options there are in a town like Wellesley that does not require college. Even though if you do go to college, send them to Northeastern where I teach.
Or vocational ed.
Actually-
But that,
Yeah.
but whatever.
No, this is great, and I forgot to add that I actually work at the high school, so I kind of hear it from all ends, and this is something that we talk a lot about. Not every student is made
Right.
to
It's
go to
just
a
to me,
four-year,
I'm
but
hearing-
but we don't talk about the options.
But I'm hearing the pressure now.
Would you shout it out,
The
please?
pressure of college.
Yeah.
That's what you were talking about.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll work
So,
for you.
so I wrote to be more open and communicative about our shortcomings. Or
To allow ourselves not to be
vulnerabilities. You
perfect.
said vulnerabilities, not
And that's building it, that's perfect.
I take initiative.
Take initiative, okay.
Susan's supposed to.
Relationship building. Build a relationship. You're not really going to communicate if you don't have a relationship.
And that sort of falls in with the trust, I believe there's something about trust as well.
Right. True.
I also had discussion on how we all relate to each other. I'm always thinking about kids. Like, I think one of our goals for Interact is within the school is to reduce the stigma of, depression or whatever the case might be from a mental standpoint. And I think that the more conversation people can have how we relate to each other, and it is really important. It takes that stigma away of how people feel.
Now, Susan's very tough, so I'm going to pick on you
Oh, great.
as an example for the group.
Okay.
We need the idea, but the explanation just takes away from it.
Oh, okay, sorry.
We're going for volume.
I'll be
Okay.
quiet.
No, don't be quiet. Just be brief. Okay, thank you.
Celebrate effort, not just accomplishments.
What did you say, celebrate what?
Effort.
Not just the, that's a good one. And result.
Yeah.
Susan, a brief one.
Me, I think optimism, being more optimistic about things and about different ideas.
Did you write that down?
Taking time to listen to others. Okay.
All right, so far we've been very mature here, and these are all sensible ideas. I'm hopeful that Ed's got some that are wild and crazy.
And not so much fun. But so one is create community projects. This is very specific. Create community projects that connect individuals across generations and communities or clubs. So imagine like where to go to St. Paul. So imagine like St. Paul's Catholic Church meets with the temple, right?
Oh my
we all,
God.
these verticals, but like,
Did that happen?
you know, it happens in your bar mitzvahs.
That's right. That's the last time.
But systematically, right? So like get all the, you know, so connections so that way. That's one. And a related one is, you know, this NPR group story forum.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
connect senior citizens to Wellesley Public School students around life stories. So have them interview them
Right.
around story course. So you hear, and then you hear these career paths, and you hear these different types of things.
I'm going to add to some of these to celebrate differences,
Yeah.
which
there you go.
is something you were just,
Yes, that's right.
celebrate differences.
And so this is not, this is just data. So survey Wellesley community on mental health, wellness levels, just average baseline. That might have already happened, I don't know. But
There is a youth risk behavior survey every
Yeah.
2 years.
Yes.
But it's only down to middle school,
but
grade
it's
6.
but it's also not about sort of all people of Wellesley
And it's
community.
not
right?
adults.
So
Yeah.
what about levels of
You're right.
adults and cutting the data all sorts of different ways so we can understand the supply and demand, if you will,
Yeah.
around that.
Yeah, you're right.
So I want adults sharing their own struggles with mental health. You know, a lot of adults who have been through that, and you know, maybe kids around and don't know that, and it's just good to see that they're
Absolutely.
very
It's great.
So one quick anecdote that touches on both the topic about interfaith and about intergeneration. We actually did that with a group called IGRO, which is Interfaith Gathering around our homes. And it was terrific. And one of the things the kids enjoyed about it was hearing some of the adults say, yeah, we haven't got it all figured out ourselves. So the difficult thing was very different schedules between the temple and the Catholic Church. So it was hard to get the youth groups together. But the time we did it was awesome. We did it for a couple of years. Yeah.
Anybody else have anything they wanted to?
I had anonymous polls on how people feel on particular subjects.
Anonymous polls.
Yeah.
So to prop some ideas, I need to hang this up and start a new sheet. Sure. So this whole thing is
Well, it goes with the discussion of effort over here, the reward effort. Now, I think this is better now in the schools, but I still think that the students who get recognized and get promoted, so to speak, are the ones who are good in English, math, and science. You can't be good in all three if you're a normal person, in my opinion. You know, I was always in the dumb section in math and science, but in the smart section in English. But I felt dumb my whole life. Don't let kids feel dumb because they're not good at all three disciplines. Is that the right way to word it?
Did you write that down?
I'm just going to write.
So to prep some ideas here, how about something funny? What would be a funny idea? So, please share what you're going to do. Educating about differences. You know?
This one kind of is salary.
Okay. What's a funny idea? What would be hilarious?
What would be what?
What would be hilarious? What's a silly idea?
Okay, a town ice cream flavor.
A town ice cream flavor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Town.
Can I do a build on that?
Town ice cream flavor.
A build on that? Would
Yes.
be a contest to name the town ice cream flavor. So lots of people come up with ideas around that, and then that could be a build on that. It's a panel that judges that has some sort of criteria, so you get involve lots of people.
Ice cream naming
I like
Ice cream
competition.
naming. And the second thing is the panel could be representing from all the different organizations.
It has
so
to have children on
that
it,
way, it has
adults,
children on it, it has people from
elderly.
different churches, different organizations, it has a Rotary, it has a, so we bring together these different organizations on the panel.
Paul, what would be a hilarious idea?
You got a hilarious idea, Paul?
I'll keep
I didn't hear it.
He's thinking.
Ah,
I'll keep thinking.
what would be the worst idea? What would be the terriblest idea you could ever come up with?
I can pick one.
Yeah.
All of the elected officials in town have to declare their party affiliation. That would be a terrible
clinical working. Please write these ideas.
Oh, there it is.
Well, building on the idea, you can also do a cocktail.
Well, that would be more fun, but you can't involve everybody. That's the problem.
There's like all the restaurants.
Yes, that's a great idea, yes,
Cocktails.
that's a great idea.
Sorry.
Sure, it could be a fun
That
idea.
time at the certain amount
My
of.
favorite
If you order
cocktail
that
would be a
drink, you have to get
tequila
ready
mockingbird.
to work.
What do you say? Tequila what?
My favorite cocktail would be a tequila mockingbird.
Write that down. We can't lose
That's
that.
clever.
I like the idea.
Maybe that's an ice cream.
Did you make that up?
What?
You can, yeah, ice cream can have booze in
Well,
it.
it's the same thing.
Absolutely.
Oh, and all ages can have it. Rum raisin.
There you go.
Yeah.
I've got a couple. So we were saying that they're literal, because you wanted to fight, right?
Yeah.
So, improv comedy lessons for Wellesley Public School students around wellness. So get an improv comedy troupe, Second City to come in.
They actually
Exactly.
they've had something like that, so that would be great. I think they did it on
And
a
then
different
you wanted to
topic.
fight. So stand-up comedy open mic night around wellness. So go to the native TCAN and get somebody to do some comedy
Right.
stuff. Get a real comedian and then people to teach them how to do stand-up comedy.
Right. Or maybe like a music,
Oh,
like
that's a
a
good one.
music idea,
Well,
like
like a jam session?
a cappella or a jam session or jazz groups or,
You mean like karaoke?
Yeah, karaoke
I like
can count,
karaoke.
but even like
Karaoke.
like the
How
acapella
do you
group,
spell
or the
that?
jazz club group, or
Are you writing?
All right.
Thank you.
I spelled it wrong.
Is karaoke one of the good ideas or the bad?
I think I spelled it
Depends
wrong.
who's got the
I
mic.
spelled it wrong. I don't know how to spell it.
Just for the, well, no.
Is this one that's?
Yeah, please fix it, Bob.
That's an extreme W panel, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, to build on the karaoke, a music festival involving kids and teens. I think I heard on the radio that Newton is doing something like that, where kids bands, all the kids garage bands, they come out, but they get money so they can all be public and be seen together. So it's,
Teen jam.
yeah, exactly.
It could be like one of the West's television show where they decide who's the best act or
Oh, yeah,
whatever. It could be
sure.
something like
Yeah.
that.
These are guys.
Not like the
Yeah.
voice, but for,
Oh, I got one. Something stupid, well, not stupid, but a little silly. It, with the weather, would require snow. Maybe build a town ice palace or a snowman or something like that.
Crystal Palace.
Yeah. Oh, what should I?
Ice palace.
Ice palace.
Town ice palace.
Town,
What about a town?
Or winter one.
There you go.
We say that already?
whatever, whatever.
Even the silly.
Wellesley's got talent.
Yeah.
Oh, there's
He's got one?
Wellesley's got talent.
Okay.
Even sillier than building an ice palace
Town.
would be to build an ice palace like in Dr. Zhivago and make it out of beeswax.
You got ideas.
And you know what's great about the idea of a talent show is, again, in our town, I think we focus very much on the kids who are in sports and who's the
Oh,
athlete
right.
of the week.
Yeah, good point.
And all about who's done the best in sports.
It's sounding as academic,
Right,
really, but
and some, right, and there's so many kids who just don't get the recognition.
And to build.
Did Wellesley participate in the Saturday night show where they have the high schools going against other high schools in the quiz show?
Yeah.
It's
There's
academic.
something.
The academic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did they do well?
They did.
That's not the point.
I'm just curious, because I'd like to have those people be well-known in the town, because I agree exactly what you're saying. I think academic excellence doesn't get as much play as it should. You do have the athlete of the week, but I think that the academic performers don't get the recognition that they should. And by the same token, I think that it would be fun to do like a trivia night.
There you go.
People put teams together. Because with trivia, you have to have somebody who knows the bands, and then somebody who's good in science.
So it's not actually,
You'd have
because I have to say,
to
That's a lot of fun.
There is a-
cultural and multi-diverse.
because you have to, there are actually, the kids who are very academically successful do get, actually, there's a lot of awards. And it's
Yeah.
really the kids who don't quite fit into the sports, and they don't quite fit into the academics. But there must, we need to celebrate, there's something about them that they usually don't hear
Nerd
about.
award. Nerd award.
Or something.
Don't call it a nerd.
Yeah, it's something something that makes them slightly, you know,
You're judging my idea.
Yes,
That's
I am.
the exact opposite of what we're doing. We're deferring judgment.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah, how about
This is the
So I had
Wilson's got
another,
talent, thank you.
Okay, so I say it, so community.
How about the
as a
different,
community.
the difference award, somebody who's different.
And
Difference in
knowing how to get more involved with what we've got.
So we have 5 minutes left, and what impossible ideas.
Difference.
What absolutely impossible ideas.
You're good.
Well, I was looking at
Gravity
possibly like
doesn't
every single
exist.
person, right?
I was
Okay,
gonna
so-
say an artistic, because my daughter's an artist, and there's like an art therapy kind of, you know, thing, so maybe on building on music, doing
So it's.
And bigger, what's an impossible way to do it? We all become artists around
Right,
the
or
nation.
everybody does a
Everybody.
painting based on their emotion or their state of mind or where they are in life
Doesn't have to
to
be painting, can it
express.
just be some
No,
form
we
of
can,
art?
yeah, some form of art, like.
Yeah.
but
you're
Art is
saying everybody
redefined.
Yeah, all right, here's the difference award.
So here was another one that Allison said that it could be unattainable, but you actually could make it also attainable. Community service, as the, you know, everybody in our community has to, you know, be involved in community service. Every single person.
What else?
What about a kindness initiative?
Kindness?
Everybody has to, like, on the first Monday of every month, everybody has to let somebody out when they're trying to, like, pull out of parking, and they would let you out. Do you mean like that kind of stuff? Do you mean like?
Townwide empathy.
Yeah, like something like, I don't know.
Well,
Like, it could be
yeah.
different things, okay.
Well, and then there's a pay it forward. So you're gonna say that?
Exactly.
Yeah. So.
I stopped with somebody else.
Well, and I just have to say, I know I'm not supposed to talk, but just to say, this is the idea. I had a friend who recently went through the drive-through, and she pulled in, and a guy who had road rage behind her pulled in behind.
Oh, yeah. I so know exactly what
And
you're
she
talking about.
paid for all his coffees. Like, he ordered like this big order at Dunkin' Donuts drive-through, and it was like pay it forward. And she said the look on his face was priceless. So anyway, sorry, Bob.
Yeah, but you know, it's stuff like that, like, you know, like fill a parking meter, like, I don't know, I'll just write down a couple.
Neighbor Day. Friend Day.
How many people have not met their neighbors? It's unbelievable.
Besides me.
Oh, you must be related to me.
So really big, insane ideas. I mean, really big. We
Well-
rename the town.
I-
Wellness.
I think what we could do, and this would be a big idea, we could have a rattlesnake roundup.
Yes, yes, please write that down, Toby. Yes.
We don't have rattlesnakes here, right?
Well,
But not in Wellesley, right? I was assured there were snakes here.
How about a pet day? Everybody who has a pet has to come into around the library and show everybody their pets. Everybody loves their pets. Let's make them happy. You told me absurd. You said absurd.
Yeah, no, but the pets must be dangerous.
Dangerous.
And lions,
Or
tigers,
unusual pet
bears,
day or something like that.
venomous,
Maybe like exotic pet day.
exotic pet.
Exotic pet day.
Release your exotic pet. But
Here's
Then I
a town-wide no smartphone day. No one, everybody has to turn their smartphone, they get it back at 5 o'clock, in the meantime,
that's
then do like an
impossible.
active
That's
time.
impossible.
Yeah.
You want to bring impossible ideas?
So that actually goes with your first thing.
What
Right?
about the town bonfire?
A town bonfire, yeah,
Like
at the
a
beach,
celebration.
Yeah. town
beach
bon-
party,
I'll call it a beach, town beach party?
yeah, with bonfire.
Beach
There are bonfires all around town.
with.
How about,
I guess that's at Morse's Pond.
Thank you. Donna?
Maybe you could have the bonfire made of outmoded
in the
regulations.
spirit
Burn-
of communication.
You know, take a look at all the
Burn
regulations that
the
are,
bureaucracy.
like, you know, in Kansas, there used to be the state law, where there's an intersection of 2 railroad tracks that cross each other, and the law was neither train can advance until the other one is gone.
Oh, that's something. That's interesting. How does he know?
So
all
there
that?
they sit.
There they sit.
Phone a friend day.
She
Did
had
you
no
call
idea.
that out?
Yeah.
Tell us about
In
that.
the light of email, instead of people email each other all the time, instead of picking up the phone to call someone.
How about a no, yeah, I like that, and
what's
to
that?
build on that, maybe like a no driving day. You have to walk everywhere.
Oh, I love that
I
idea.
love that. Put that down. Susan's got a good one. Go ahead, tell
Thank
me.
you.
3 words or less.
No driving day.
Very good.
I like that.
Are you allowed to?
You have to
You're
walk
allowed to
everywhere. You need to go to the grocery store, you gotta walk. Or maybe you call in your neighbors, like,
Are you allowed to thumb?
sure.
Oh, no.
Well, no, nobody can drive.
Oh, that's right. Don't drive us.
So that's.
Maybe the people going to town.
Are these grouping out?
Some of them are.
I just thought of one really weird. You
Shout it
said-
out.
You said it could be kind of weird, right?
Yes, please.
How about send a letter to someone? In other
Yeah,
words,
that's good.
big- I know we're not allowed to talk, but I saw something on TV a long time ago about a kid who sent a letter to a woman he didn't even know. She was like 99.
Yes.
Oh, you saw it? And it made her the happiest person in the world.
Yeah.
She was all alone.
Yeah, all alone.
She didn't know anyone.
Right, so-
Everyone died.
Right. a
Right,
letter
that's the
day.
whole story. That's
Yeah.
exactly it. So what should I call it, Bob?
Send a letter.
Write a letter day?
Send a letter to.
Send a letter?
Old fashioned communication?
Send a letter
To an
day.
unknown
Send a letter
person.
day.
Yeah.
Send,
Yeah.
because you can make someone happy. Make someone happy. Send
Make
a
it
letter.
fashion.
And I do that.
Here you go, Bob. Send a letter day.
I like that.
All right, so now we need to actually pick our favorites. So everyone pick up your pen, your marker. Yeah, you each have 3 votes, no more. Each have 3 votes, okay? So from Phyllis, this is the divide right here.
You mean I'm still with Paul?
You're still with Paul. So Phyllis and Paul and everyone on this side, if you go over by Lisa
I know.
and use up to 3 votes on your favorite idea.
Okay.
Okay? And then this half of the table has 3 votes, starting with Susan,
I know, he'll tell us.
working on this set, okay? You have up to 3 votes.
So our top 3.
Your top 3, yeah, don't vote for the same one 3 times. Thank you.
Like a mark, like a
Yeah,
first
check.
mark
What
by.
do we do, Bob, there?
9 to 3 on December 4th, or Wednesday, 9 to 3.
But how long
On
can we?
December 6th, it'll be a 1-hour
So
meeting.
it could be any
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
So I'm sorry, just say that again.
Yeah, so I'm hopeful that we can all, or the vast majority of us, meet in the daytime, either Monday, December 4th, or Wednesday, December 6th. And I'm going to suggest the time, because I know it works for Lisa. If it doesn't work for the group, we'll move on. So, a show of hands, how many people can meet Monday at 2:30 p.m.? Monday, December 4th,
At 2:30?
at 2:30 p.m.
December 4th?
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, if we do it on a Monday, I could bring the Interact Club from the high school.
That would be so good.
That's good.
That would be
So
great.
I could
Yeah.
plan that.
Yeah.
If anybody, it has to be at 2:30, it has to be at, I just.
Yeah. So show of hands, how many people can meet Monday at 2:30? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Carol? Is it possible for either of you to? Maybe. Maybe. Does it make a difference whether it's Monday or Wednesday? Yeah, Monday or Wednesday.
You have to check the days.
What do you think, man? Monday at 2:30? Can we get an early departure? All right, you're in.
December 4th?
You're in. Yeah. So is that possible for you?
Still figure it out for you. It's funny when you're here.
Exactly.
And it's-
That's possible. And it's just hard to, that time is on Wednesday.
Maybe we could, I wonder if there's I wonder if we could do something where we could get some students who would be willing to have, take care of some of the kids for the hour, entertain them with some.
How old?
3, yeah.
Yeah, 4-year-old? Yeah.
I mean, I certainly could,
Yeah.
I mean, I've done this, I'd be happy to, if that meant that, not right then.
Either Ed or Terry?
I think so.
should we just go for it? Should we say that's the date? And let's all really try hard.
Monday the 4th.
Yeah, so it's Monday, December 4th, 2:30 p.m. And at the moment, it's scheduled already at the Arnold Conference Room in the Wellesley Free Library.
So it's not here.
Definitely not here. There's a chance we can get the Interact teams to attend, Susan?
I'm sorry?
Could they make it to the library
Um,
as opposed to meeting at the high school?
of course, yeah, we can
All
come
right.
to you.
I
I mean, I
found a
can
room
make
reserved at the
arrangements.
Wellesley Library, the
So I
Arnold
can-
Conference Room at
Yeah,
2:30.
as long as I know in advance, I can make arrangements if I need I can have somebody else help drive.
I can do it. I leave school.
All right. So this is confirmed.
So what is it, Monday the 4th?
Yeah, Monday, December 4, 2:30 p.m. in the Arnold Conference Room in the Wellesley Free Library. It's upstairs
What is it, Arnold Conference Room?
at the Wellesley Free Library
Oh, I know that.
on Washington Street. And how many people would babysitting make it easy? If we have babysitting there, I know why. Would that be a magnet for anyone else?
And then we could figure, I mean, I'm sure either I could do it or if there's, the students, somebody could do for help with daycare, if there are people who.
You want me to do that? I'll do that.
So great.
I think
We'll-
let's
we'll-
stay in the
we'll
library.
babysit. Yeah, well, then we're just turning back. We're done with children's section. Perfect. Perfect. All right. That's it. Any questions before we hit the bell?
Oh, it is 8 o'clock.
It is 8 o'clock. Thank you so much.
And Rotary members, come see me. I'm collecting for dinner tonight. Everybody else is comped. Rotary members, right up